The moon rings like a bell, the crisis in cosmology, and the biggest, dumbest animal? All that and more in today's lightning round video. Hello and welcome to this month's lightning round video. Lightning round videos are where I take questions from Patreon and channel members who support at the solar system level, and I do my best to answer them on the fly without having looked at them first. It's a little bit of a game show format for myself, which means that a lot of times I get things wrong. So take everything in this video with a grain of salt, please. By the way, I did get some feedback from the last video from people saying that they like the format, but they do kind of miss me researching the topics a little bit more and would like to see me research these more before I talk about them. And to those people, I just want to say, who do you think you are? I'll do better. So I don't know, I might take a little bit of extra time and look into these a little bit more this time. I'll do my best. But anyway, let's just get straight to it. First question. All right, first question comes from Hendrik, who asks, oh. Okay, here's the thing. Why is everybody so invested in the chair swivel? Seriously. Hendrik is not the first person to bring this up. A lot of people have been, actually a lot more angrily than that, demanding that I bring back the chair swivel. So the spin-in, which is what I always called it, I didn't call it a swivel, I called it a spin-in. Here's where it started. I just didn't want the videos to start with my face, just starting on my face. I've never liked the idea of that. I just wanted something to kind of ease people in. So I remember I was trying at first to do like a slide in kind of thing. But I never could hit the mark just right. It was difficult and it was a whole thing. Or I could come up from below, but Michael from Vsauce was the guy who always did that, so I didn't want to copy him. I could come down from the top, but that's actually AJ's thing from the Y-Files now. So the spinning was a way for me to like enter the shot where it wasn't starting on me without me having to like slide in or anything. It was a lot easier. I was in one place to just turn around. I eventually stopped doing it because the nature of intros on YouTube changed. Here's the full answer if you really want to hear it. So once upon a time, YouTubers really only had to worry about the title and thumbnail in terms of like getting people to watch their videos. But now when you're on the YouTube app and you scroll up and down, the videos autoplay. They just start playing. So oftentimes when you're looking at it on the app, which I've looked, I think like 35% of my audience is watching on their phones right now, you barely even see the title and thumbnail. So the change that YouTube has made in their autoplay on mobile and the fact that literally a third of my audience is watching that way means that a third of my audience isn't even seeing the title and thumbnail, which means that literally the first shot of your video, first 3 seconds max, are also a kind of thumbnail. So a big thing now is trying to make sure that the first shot, the first few seconds of your video match what you want to do on your title and thumbnail, because they are in many ways the title and thumbnail for about a third of people. And if I were to keep doing the chair swivel, that means that the first 3 seconds of every video, at the title and thumbnail, the thing that's going to get people to watch it, is now gone. So that's the biggest reason why I quit doing it. Also, I've just been doing it for a really long time, and sometimes I just felt like it was kind of silly because it was just a placeholder effect in the first place. But if you want to blame YouTube and their viewing policies, feel free. By the way, one little addendum to that. I did a speaking gig at, I believe it was the Fully Charged show in San Diego, and I came out and everybody was like, do the spin, and I was like, okay. So I spun around. I have never felt like more of a sellout in my entire life. I just wanted to crawl into a hole after that. All right, next up, Fishtail asked, how was VidCon this year? Well, first of all, thank you for asking. And yeah, I got back from VidCon 4 days ago as of this recording. I haven't been to VidCon since maybe 2019, I guess before the pandemic. I went several years in a row. And by that, I mean like bought the passes and did the seminars and the whole thing. But a couple of years ago, I'm with Nebula. Nebula always gets a house in Anaheim around VidCon. And it's just kind of like a place where we all kind of hang out. And so one year I decided to stay with them at the house. And what I realized was that a lot of people were coming and going at the house. All the YouTubers that were there had friends that were coming over and whatnot. And there were a couple of parties that were thrown by Nebula and other people. And what I realized was that I met more and better people doing that than all the years of me going to VidCon and like working and networking and business cards and schmoozing and elbow rubbing and all that kind of stuff. Which, by the way, I am not good at. I don't like doing. I am not wired for that. I am not a good salesman, and it's exhausting. So yeah, the last few years I've just gone and stayed at the Nebula House at VidCon, and I've gotten to meet some really great people that way. Now, this particular trip was extra long. I was actually in LA for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Basically the entire second half of June, because the week before VidCon, I was helping out with a short film that was being shot by Abigail Thorne from Philosophy Tube. It's one of several narrative short and feature films that Nebula is now working on, which I couldn't be more excited about. And I wanted to be a part of them as much as possible. So I went out. I was basically the extras wrangler for this shoot. So I was there for a week doing that. My wife actually came out and joined me for a few days, and then there was VidCon. And I'm telling you, by the last day that I was there, I was so entirely spent. My social battery was non-existent. And actually, as I'm recording this, I'm going to be heading out in 2 days for a little vacation with the wife, and then after that, I'm going to be going to Canada. So probably by the time you see this, I will be back from this. But I'm recording this early because of it. But yeah, I'm going to Canada for a video shoot for a video on this channel that I don't want to give any spoilers for, but it is by far, far and away, the biggest, most expensive video I've ever made in my channel. And I've been working on this for 3 years, and I'm super excited about it, but I can't really talk about it right now. You're just going to have to wait and see. So yeah, crazy travel this summer, but VidCon was fun. I enjoyed it. I got to see a lot of my old friends and made a couple new friends, and what else can you ask for? All right, Donna Sawyer asked, it's been many years since one of the Apollo 12 stages crashed into the moon and caused a ringing sound for almost an hour. Is there anything new on what caused this sound? Joe's got to look that one up. Apollo 12 uncovers a hollow moon. From the History Channel. Of course. Let's just go to Reddit. Today I learned during the Apollo 12 mission a 2.5-ton piece of the lunar module was experimentally crashed on the surface of the moon. The unexpected result, the moon rang like a bell for nearly an hour. First of all, this is from 12 years ago, so definitely nothing new about that. Does the moon sound like a bell from Popular Science? Maybe there's something here. NASA used a spent spacecraft for science, directing these modules for controlled crashes into the moon. These crashes caused moonquakes, and scientists measured the vibrations moving through the moon and found it rings like a bell. Please mess up my reading experience more, would you? Okay, so it says the data was sent back to receiving stations on Earth where the signal was magnified by 10 million so scientists could interpret the signal. So I guess that's one piece of the puzzle. The signal that rang like a bell was boosted by 10 million%. All right, so this is talking about Apollo 12, where they actually crashed the lunar module back on the moon. It says it impacted 40 miles away from the Apollo 12 landing site with a force of 1 ton of TNT. The resulting shockwave built up and peaked in just 8 minutes, but it took a whole hour for it to fully dissipate. Well, that's quite a smash, or a body part that I won't mention. It says it turns out that these impacts were characteristic of one of 4 types of moonquakes that scientists studied from the ALSIP data. All right, so I think this is the best answer that I could possibly give, and I'll make myself big and read it. So yeah, according to this Popular Science article, the very last paragraph, it says it all comes down to water. There's moisture in the materials that makes up our planet, expanding the structure. As energy from an earthquake moves through the planet, that damp material acts like a sponge, absorbing the energy of the waves and ultimately deadening their effects. But the moon is dry, cool, and rigid, more like solid rock than a sponge, so even if a moonquake is less intense, there's nothing to deaden the vibrations. They just go back and forth through the body until the solid stone eventually stops them. This ringing bell is the shock waves reverberating through that stone. So Donna, you were asking if there's anything new about this. This is from 2016, so I wouldn't call that new, but I also couldn't find anything newer than that, but that seems to be the answer. I mean, we know that there is frozen water on the moon, but still, that's solid water. That's not water that would be liquid and taking up, absorbing shockwaves and stuff. So it sounds like the best answer to the question is just the moon is more solid than Earth, and definitely Earth has like mantle underneath, so there's liquid under there. So yeah, just things reverberate differently on Earth than they do on the moon. And of course, I think from judging from some of the search results that I saw, this is where a lot of the hollow moon conspiracy stuff comes from. I see this come up a lot where people look at the way the moon reacts in certain ways, different photos from the moon and video from the moon, and people assume that that means that there's something weird going on with the moon or that the moon landings were fake or whatever. When in actuality, I think what it just comes down to is that the moon is a very different place than planet Earth, and things just act differently there. That's my answer, and for now, I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking. Sticking. All right, next question we got Brian Beswick, who says, the James Webb Space Telescope found another galaxy this week, reported to be the oldest ever detected and emitting more light than any of the models theorized possible. With mounting evidence exasperating the crisis in cosmology, when do you think we will hit a breaking point? And do you think the problem with our theories is with our theories or with the universe? Do you think it's the problem with our theories? Oh, do you think it's the problem with our theories in the universe? I think the problem is I can't read. I think that's the problem. So the crisis in cosmology, yeah, that's a Dr. Becky question if I've ever heard one. Maybe I could get Dr. Becky to answer this. I'm lazy. Okay, so I found an article from Scientific American that does a pretty good job of laying out what this is going on here. So the galaxy is called JWST-GS-Z14-0. I know, it's the naming convention's lovely. So JWST is this whole program that they did that stands for JWST Advanced Deep Extragalactic Survey. And then the rest of it is just like how they categorize it. But yeah, they found it in this JWST deep field that they shot, which every single dot in this image is an entire galaxy. But yeah, when they did the red shifting effect on it and everything, it turns out it's the oldest and brightest known galaxy in the early cosmic dawn era of the universe. And yet, at first, you can see right here that there's one blob, but that's actually two galaxies right there. One of them is a little bit purple, and the other one's redder. It's the red one that we're talking about here. They actually thought that this was one galaxy at one point, but then they realized that one is close up and the other one is way further away. And once they ran a spectrograph analysis of it, they realized that there's elements in this galaxy that shouldn't be there. There's a number of stars that shouldn't be there for this age. Like, for example, oxygen was found in the spectrograph, and the deal with oxygen is like, it's a larger element that requires some supernova explosions. So that only occurs after a few generations of stars. So the fact that they were already a few generations of stars in, and this galaxy is so old, makes it even crazier. So it says a redshift of 1 corresponds to a distance of more than 10 billion light years. This one had a redshift of 14.32, which, yeah, that's the highest ever recorded. So just a couple of quotes here. It says, ever since we first started taking data, JWST has been finding galaxies at higher and higher redshifts, breaking its own records multiple times. And we can use that to kind of figure out how the Milky Way formed. So this article doesn't say anything about the crisis in cosmology in regards to this. So Brian, what I think you're getting at is that over time as we've studied cosmology, which is the study of the universe, which there is only one of that we will ever be able to see anyway, which makes it a little bit different from other things because you can't compare this universe to other universes. But there seem to be kind of multiple crises that have come up over the years. You know, we couldn't understand how galaxies stayed together, so we had to come up with dark matter. We couldn't understand why galaxies were flying away from each other so fast, so we had to come up with dark energy. Both of which are things that we 100% believe in and have evidence for, but we just have absolutely no idea what it is or how it works. There's a crisis in terms of the age of the universe if you look at inflation versus the cosmic microwave background radiation. And now we're seeing, you know, galaxies that are way too old, having way too many stars, way too early, and now we can't explain that. And I think, to Brian's point, I think what you're saying is that it's starting to feel like there's a whole lot of band-aids that we've had to apply to this whole idea of how the universe works. And you feel like at some point it's going to just all break apart. We're going to have to come up with a whole new paradigm. And I think, I think the answer is yeah. I think we are going to have to come up with an entirely new idea at some point. You know, we use the word crisis in cosmology. It's not a crisis. Like, everything's fine. Some would argue that a crisis in our understanding is a good thing because that just brings up more questions, which gives us more things to study. So I guess, I don't know, if I were to if I were to take issue with anything you said here, it would be like to phrase it in terms of like a breaking point, like everything's going to just fall apart. I don't think anything's falling apart. We do have to come up with some new understandings. And yeah, at some point we're going to have to get that. How far away that is, how long it's going to take for us to get there, it's a very good question. And I don't have the answer to that one. All right, this is the moment in the lightning round video where we bless the new people with the power of Zoe. Shouting out the new Patreons and members from this month, we've got Kathy, Honora Borealis, Brian Connor, Milano Lelovic, Janet K, Karen Kreis, Laura Napolitano, Michael Bruner, Troy Ross, Esoteric Fictionalism, and new members include Zach Debo, Yesenia Serrano, Adrian O'Donoghue, Payman, Charles Benoit, Michelle and Henry Casavant, James Burian, Super Mario, Space Cadet 65, Brian R, Dreffas, Fred Gruthius, Rayful C. and Kat. Nailed it. No, seriously, thank you all so much for signing up to support this channel. If you would like to join them, some of the perks are you get early access to videos, you get to join this awesome community, they're doing really cool stuff, you get access to the Discord server where some really great conversations are happening, and you also can sort of help me to do research on videos if you're into that kind of thing. But if you would like to join them, you can sign up at Patreon at patreon.com/answerswithjoe, or you can sign up for the YouTube membership, where also you'll get a little thing by your name and make you stand out in the comments a little more. But you can do that by clicking join now down below. Clicking. All right, and Rafe Zero Humor Singer asked, how do you throw a shark party? Have plenty of champagne. But seriously, is a whale shark the biggest animal of low general intelligence? Or in other words, is the whale shark the stupidest big animal? So, I kind of did a video about this, not specifically about the whale shark. I will be completely honest, I don't know a whole lot about the whale shark, other than it's a shark that's large like a whale. But apparently it's pretty stupid too. But the video that I did, it was not well received, but it was about the dumbest animals and how that can actually be an evolutionary adaptation. We as human beings think that intelligence is the thing that everything is aspiring to, like the evolution chart goes up to us, Homo sapiens, wise human. But evolution don't care about intelligence. It's not always a pro in an evolutionary sense. The brain takes up a lot of energy. So for a lot of animals, that would just not make a lot of sense to spend so much energy on the brain. You need it for other purposes in whatever environment you may be filling. So there are some animals that we think maybe they got dumber over time as an evolutionary adaptation to help them survive. But you're asking specific questions about the whale shark, which I don't have. All I know is I have looked into stupidity in animals a little bit, and it's more interesting than you might think. It's not a negative for a lot of animals to be kind of dumb. Apparently riding whale sharks is stupid. Are whale sharks smart? That depends on your definition of smart. You may think that you are smart because you survive on plankton in the open ocean. This is the point that I'm making. That guy's a PhD, so... PhD in marine biology, Richard Pierce. Listen to the man. So he says, in my opinion, their brains are nothing more than sophisticated biological computers hardwired by evolution with everything they need to live, but with the capacity to modify their programming or learn. By our definition, I would say that whale sharks are not smart, but that may not be a relevant measure. Wait, I gotta make myself bigger as I make this point. It's a very big point. The PhD in marine biology agrees with me. Smart. So Rafe, I'm really not seeing anything come up talking about how dumb whale sharks are necessarily. I even just pulled up a Reader's Digest article with 11 facts about whale sharks, and none of them say anything about them being unintelligent. And if you can't trust Reader's Digest, folks, I mean, why live? And actually, this article in Sharks World, under behavior, it says it's one of the most docile sharks that exist and does not present any danger to humans. They even allow divers to have contact with them despite the scientists' disapproval of this activity. It is an intelligent animal who demonstrates the ability to learn, according to this website about sharks. Although it does also say right here that a whale shark is the giant of the oceans. The dimensions of its body gives it the title of the largest fish in the world, and therefore also the biggest shark. So I guess to answer your question, it might be the biggest not smart animal in the world, but it's also just one of the biggest animals in the world. So, you know, by default. So yeah, I think I'm gonna push back on you. They might not be that dumb. They might not be super smart. They're just whale smart and or shark smart, because they're actually sharks. But they're as smart as they need to be, which is kind of smart. All right, so thanks to all the questions from the Patreon people. I appreciate them. I had a lot of fun with that. Hopefully I answered your questions in some kind of intelligent manner, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Now you guys go out there, have an eye-opening rest of the week. Stay safe, and I'll see you next Monday. Love you guys. Take care.